Their tires aren't cheap.
Okay, it's all ready for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We have a couple of amendments to the agenda. We're gonna delete the auditor's quarterly report and replace it with the weed, control quote from B&W Control Specialist.
That's it?
That's it as far as I know.
I'd make the motion with those two amended.
That's the first, and a second from Dave, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, approve the minutes from February 1st.
I read through the minutes and, they looked correct to me, so I make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second on the minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. General public concerns or comments? Scott, you want to address the board?
Okay, guys, I just was wondering, we got, all of our pagers are here now, everybody's gotten pagers, that's what the new pagers are. And I've gotten calls from different cities wondering when the money from the supervisors was coming. I guess, I thought I assumed that from the 3 or 4 weeks ago when I was here, that I gave you was gonna be the bill for it, but
Okay.
nobody's seen any money yet, and they're concerned about they've gotten the bills and when will they get their money.
I think we do have that list of each town broken down, and the money's sitting in the account. I think we can write checks.
Okay,
So we might have to do handwritten, otherwise it'll be 2 weeks.
okay.
I guess the only question I would have was, some of those numbers were a smidge different, one way or the other, from the original that we got. Was there any, uptick in numbers? I know
There was, I think the total dollar was the same at the end, the total dollar. Some of them, we made everybody, whoever, if somebody had something left over, we evened it out so everybody's worked out, so they could all have what they wanted, some were less, some were more. I think the total was exactly.
Yeah, I think you explained that to us.
Well, Bruce, are you asking if you go off the list, will each entity,
Be
city,
satisfied.
get the correct amount? Do we have the correct dollar amount list to pay off of?
Yes, that last one I gave you is correct, yes.
So they don't get a check and say, well, this was supposed to be $100.
No.
Jim was in Friday, I believe, and was talking about that, and I thought he was gonna get together with Scott and talk about Jim Groenbeck. Did he talk to you about the differences in prices and stuff like that?
No, the prices were higher than what Jim had quoted, but
well, I guess that was my question, was the first papers that we got, they were one number, and then when we got the second one from you, there was like a $3,000 difference, and I'm not haggling over the $3,000 other than the fact that
Just that we wanna pay the right amount.
Yeah, we don't wanna pay it and then they come back and say, we're short of $500.
comes with a check for whatever, and then they don't call us back the following week and say, we needed $712 more, or whatever the number
I
is.
agree, we have the right list.
Okay, she's got it, all right.
We gave it to her the last
Both of them.
So what we have is the correct
the
information.
last one I gave you is the correct one, yes.
Okay.
As far as what Humboldt, I don't know, they don't really discuss anything with the rest of us. I know they just bought 19 more new radios. They spent another $100,000 on other new radios too, but, as far as the dollar amount, everything that was on that last list is where everybody went down through and say if Gilmore was over $200 and Livermore was $300 under, they put the money on that one, so they all evened out, so they all got evened out, so.
Okay.
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 Well, one other quick this question, it's not on that.
Mhm.
Was it because there was, quite a bit of grant money involved?
Mhm.
Was that set up like a lot of grants are, that the actual payment had to be made for the radios before the grant money came
Yes.
back?
Yeah.
And the grant money goes back to whom?
Grant money will go back to the cities, and then they will pay electronic engineering the rest of the money.
I think what the deal is, electronic engineering is gonna float to cities. They're gonna show a paid receipt so they can turn it in to get the grant, then the grant money will pay the
Yes.
second
Okay.
balance of the
So
radio.
basically, now they're gonna get the X amount that we agreed on,
Mhm.
the bonding, that will be paid. They will say it's paid.
Yep.
They will get the grant.
Yep.
They will- Okay, so that's done.
Then it'll all be,
Okay,
everything will be.
that makes sense, but,
So should the
Yeah.
payment that we make, should that be made out to the cities or to electronical engineering?
I think originally you decided to do it to cities because there'd be better paper.
Yeah, that way we could trace the,
Yeah.
or track the, and show that
Yeah.
they
So
so if each
got their money.
entity,
You got so much,
Mhm.
okay.
All right,
thank you,
Is there-
yeah, that's awesome.
Any other public concerns out there? Nobody on Zoom,
Looks
I
like
think we're
everyone's
good.
beating down the door.
Alrighty, Ben.
Thank you, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Scott.
You bet.
I've got a couple things on the agenda today. The first is to approve contracts and bonds for bridge number 10 replacement, VROS, Parent 74, down on Washington Avenue in Norway Township. We awarded the contracts last week. Since then, the contractor has put together their performance bonds, their certificate of insurance, their power of attorney items, basically all the necessary paperwork to move forward with the project.
so everything's in place, we're ready to go, just too cold.
Yep, too cold right now.
Yeah, it's gonna get colder.
That's it.
And this one line item has to be done by itself because it's a different contractor.
This one, yeah, this one has to be done by itself, and the rest can be done in
There's a group.
I make a motion to approve the contract and bond for project number BROS County 46, 74-SE 46. Whiteman.
All right, we have a first.
Second.
Go ahead, Bruce, that's good.
Bruce is gonna second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approved contract bonds for these other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects with
It'd be
Matthew Construction.
five.
5 projects.
Five projects. Same thing, they've turned in all their necessary paperwork. We've got all of the insurance, bonds, we move forward with this, then they can start working on their subcontractors, and we can open up a line of communication as far as adding any additional, paving like we've talked about.
These are several different little paving projects around the county.
Yep, so this is Gotch Park, what we call the Claire Blacktop, 229, a 3-mile stretch of, Pioneer Loop and drag strip.
I would make a motion then to use, FM, I'll just do the 78, 79, 80, and then the LB 21-1 and 2 for Mappy Construction.
I would second that.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. I know people are gonna say, oh, it's a Wisconsin company. Well, they're really local. They just purchased somebody local. So
The name is,
it's different, but
Out
it's the
in
same
Wisconsin.
people.
They're a large company. Matthew is a large company that does a lot of work in Iowa.
Is this the one that purchased,
And they recently purchased Fort Idaho.
okay,
Yeah,
that's,
so it's a company we've been working with, just under a different name.
and we did have other people that bid it, that we have done.
We had very competitive bids. I think we had 6 on the bid sheet that you guys should all receive last week.
yeah.
Yeah, it was highly competitive.
Did they say motion carried, like I did, didn't I?
I heard the gavel.
Okay, good.
Cha-ching.
Approved quote for Northern Iowa Construction Products on project LC 302806.
So one of the projects that's on our 5-year plan in this current fiscal year is to replace, what the guys like to call dry bridge. It's up in Wacusta Township in section 28 on Colorado Avenue. What we are looking at doing is replacing that short structure with a, aluminum arch pipe.
Oh.
It's roughly 9 foot wide and 6 feet high, I believe. We're looking at doing this locally with our own staff. The quote that we're looking at, that should be in front of you, the one that we're looking at is the one on top. The riveted section, it comes in 2 pieces with a band. It'll end up costing us about, just shy of $12,000. We're looking at purchasing it now because the cost of steel prices are expected to go up between now and the summer. And we can take delivery of it and have it sitting in the yard so that when we have time to do it, it's here for us.
Well, that sounds like a really good idea.
So Mike, I have one question, Ben, how does that compare to a rail car then?
So a rail car, similar to the one that we did on 155th, I wanna say that was about 15,000.
So we're cheaper and,
So we're cheaper than that, plus, this would be a little bit lighter weight, easier for our guys to handle.
You say it's aluminum?
This is aluminum.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
so how much dirt and stuff will that be? You said it's 9 foot wide and 6 foot, how deep will that be?
So there'll be about 3 foot of cover over the top of it. And, the structure that they're replacing right now, I think is 16 or 18 feet long right now. It's short of the 20-foot requirement that the DOT needs to call it a bridge.
Assuming not a lot of water runs year-round, because they call it the dry
But
bridge.
they call it the dry bridge, yeah. Very rarely, it's right at the top end of the start of the drainage district. I know there's a lot of rock and boulders on the west side, and there's a private tile main about 50 feet north of this bridge that we did, probably 15 years ago.
Okay.
So will this be dropped at one of our shops, or will this,
Yeah, so
Off the
the
project.
intention is to have it dropped either at our shop or up in Bode, and sitting in the yard. We should be able to load it onto our link belt trailer. The link belt trailer is 25 foot long, so these will handle each one of these. You just have to take it in 2 trips. But then it's got, lifting anchor points, so we ought to be able to just lift it with our straps and set it in place.
perfect?
Yep.
And then you bolt it together,
Right, and my original estimate was about $140,000 to have a contractor come and do it. And I'm optimistic that we can do it between $40,000 and $50,000 by the time we figure out all of our labor and everything
Yeah.
else.
Perfect.
So you're gonna have 126 foot and 124 foot?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a first, second by Eric, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The last item that I've got on the agenda is to approve a quote for our drafting software. This is the AutoCAD Civil 3D that comes up due every year. I believe this is the last year that we'll actually physically get a copy of the software as they're moving over to a subscription-based, program. The way it's set up right now is we're on a maintenance plan, so every year we get a physical copy of the software that we technically own. They're moving away from that and going towards a subscription plan where basically you pay to use the product, you get the newest, the latest and greatest, but if you don't renew the next year, you're out.
Are they going to, this physically on your computer?
Yes.
Are they going to a cloud-based system then, next year? where you have to log into it. You have
From
to-
a tier that way, yeah.
Not to be overly technical, but because otherwise, this is basically the update for the existing program,
Yep,
and it's always gonna be updated, and you're gonna subscribe to it if you wanna use it.
right, that's what they're pushing for now.
Yeah.
They're trying to push towards that. I like the ability to have a physical disc. That way you own the proprietary software, you know.
Did they give you any indication what it's gonna cost?
Yeah.
Similar.
Similar,
Yep.
okay.
It's gonna probably be easier for them, that they don't have to spend anything physically, it's all updated, and then you just pay
You
your,
just have to
like you
log
said,
in.
you pay your subscription fee to log into it.
Yep.
All right, we got,
Did anybody make a first on this?
Nope.
I would say then, for this time being, I would, make a motion to approve this quote.
I'll second.
okay, we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Well, again, anything else for us, Ben?
I believe that's it. We ran early Saturday, Sunday we checked roads, but there wasn't anything. This morning we ran roads, but the quarter of an inch of snow that we got, they deemed wasn't bad enough to run early, so we started, 7:15, 7:30 this morning,
When did you run the gravel roads?
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yep. So, we ran them Friday and Saturday. Because of the wind blowing on Friday, we had to run everything,
Yeah, 'cause Saturday I was out, it was still drifting pretty good Saturday.
yeah, yeah.
Did you get that email I forwarded to you from the secondary roads?
The surf tax?
Yeah.
Yes, yep. I sat in on the meeting,
Was that you that said hi? Somebody
Yeah.
said hi to me, but
Yeah.
I was on the comment.
I figured you were on your phone.
So, did you, I mean, the way it sounds, the money, the numbers were better than what they anticipated, but they weren't great, the way I took it.
The way I understood it, yeah, their numbers were better than anticipated, and they're in that 4% range that we were talking about.
Right.
For a dip in the, secondary road fund, which would be our road use tax, our fuel tax, money that comes in. It sounds like they're planning on tweaking the formula once they get the final numbers for this latest round of census that they put through.
Plus the traffic count was way off, so
Was
they
way off.
used last 2 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, every 4 years they do it. Southwest Iowa, they had their traffic counts this year, and it sounds like basically nobody traveling, all of their numbers were way off from 4 years ago. So,
And still no,
Do that count.
what was that, Sandy?
I said this would be a bad time to do that account.
yeah,
Well, we voted on it, and they're basically gonna, petition the state to say, can we use the numbers from 2 years ago and throw that year out because the numbers were
Excuse
so out of whack?
I believe
That makes sense.
there's something written in the code that they have to amend
Right,
that says that you have to use the most recent traffic count for
so,
some of these projects.
did you understand the $120 million that we're waiting on from the federal government for, I don't know, I suppose has something to do with the pandemic? I heard something, but I didn't, there's $120 million that they talked about being allocated, which, to the state, to Iowa. And I thought, well, if there was 120, and there's 99 counties, you know, give up Des Moines and the bigger cities, they're gonna get the biggest piece of the pie, but if we got just our share out of that, it would help us.
Yeah, I didn't follow all of that. They were talking about between the transition and now it's, I think Pete Buttigieg is the new,
Right.
Commissioner of Highways. They're trying to figure out how they're going to allocate. I listened in, but I wasn't following that portion of it.
And there's still the fear of the electric car
Right.
because of the gas tax. Well, we aren't gonna have a real run on electric vehicles out here.
Not in our general area, no.
I mean, you might in Des Moines or Cedar Rapids or some cities, but I doubt seriously if day like today, I wouldn't wanna take off and head for Minneapolis thinking that, well, you can only run your heater on a quarter of a turn because you're using up more power than, they wouldn't sell me one.
You'd have to talk with Jana. I think last year, down at ISAC, they talked about the changes that they were implementing where electric cars are getting, license plate taxed higher, and they have, a higher initial purchase tax, and that money's going to offset what they would normally
Their road
contribute
use.
in the road use.
Right. All right, well,
But I think
I
you're still getting that big rebate from the government when you buy them too,
Right, yep.
so. All righty, well, moving on. Would you like to go early? Or we can do some of this other stuff?
Can I take just a couple minutes to set up?
You bet, we'll do a couple things while you get ready then.
Okay, great. Trish, would you like me to, I have a Zoom meeting set up already, but is that going to conflict?
No, we'll wait till you're ready then, if you're gonna do a Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, we'll just wait till 9 o'clock. All right, we got, review and approve notice of public hearing, proposed tax levy, and set public hearing date.
Oh, boy. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to think what, this is all direction from Betty on how we're supposed to do this, so.
It's a date, 10 days.
10 to 20.
10 to 20.
10 to 20 days window.
from today.
And that would make it,
Second?
7,
Probably the 22nd.
yeah, it'd be the 22nd.
now is that President's Day?
No,
No,
next week.
Monday.
Okay, I'm a week late.
So can we go with the 22nd?
I think we could.
What would be an appropriate time for that?
You wanna just do like, first thing, like 8:45 or 9 o'clock, whatever you think?
It's up to you, you choose.
We wanna do it right away?
Yeah, let's get it done.
8:45?
8:45 on the 22nd?
8:45, 22nd, I would make the motion for the, well, we're gonna do the public notice and the date of the proposed contract for the public hearing date, February 22nd at 8:45.
At 8:45. Okay, that is the motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
Second by Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so now you can get that, the budget to the proposed tax levy to the paper for publication. All right, now we go to our weed control quote from B&W Weed Control Specialist. I'll let you handle that, Eric.
Okay, well, this, I gave Trish a copy last week, and this would be, obviously, this is scheduled as we've done everything else for next fiscal year. Slight decrease in the budget. Total amount is $42,750, which would, if everything goes, there again, you're at the mercy of the weather a little bit, but if everything goes according to this plan, we'll more than cover the cost of all of the right-of-way weed control for the next fiscal year. But, the plan, if you wanna know the details, I can give them to you. If not, it's along the lines of what we've been doing, probably with the addition of some earlier, springtime, early summer spraying of some areas with broadcast weed control of a product called Escort that virtually eliminates everything, and most of those areas are picked because of the presence of this wild parsnip. But the nice thing about doing that, obviously for the wild parsnip, it gets rid of everything.
Everything else.
And those miles are taken off the balance of the spraying program.
Yeah, so they don't come back.
No, that's, yeah, it's, so, that's the only thing we're doing a little differently, and it's still a very small percentage of the total miles, but we're doing that to see if, according to our man Don Reefer, other counties have done that, it's worked very well, and, you know, it's just kind of part of the program. Otherwise, we'll be spraying, targeted program would be the south half of the county for thistles later in the season. It's kind of a late season application, which is the most effective, and we will be hitting all of the hard surface roads, earlier for thistles and our other friend, the giant ragweed, which is not a noxious weed, but it is a very nuisance weed. So, very similar to this past year. So, what we need to do is approve the quote for, the $42,750 for brush and weed control specialist, and I would make a motion to do so.
We have a first, can I get a second on the weed
I'll
control?
second it.
I'll give that to Sandy, 'cause she's on a 2-second time delay.
Okay?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And Don would like stamped approved, and if you would please send him a copy, and he said as long as it's stamped approved and signed and dated, that's good enough for him. It kicks his insurance into effect for our county. Could we just send him a copy? Okay, thank you.
And I would remember, we've always had a good relationship with him. When they come down here to start spraying, they usually let us know so that farmers know that somebody's
Yeah.
out with, vests driving along the, well...
They do, and
Oh, yeah.
particularly as far as brush control and the drainage ditches, because they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So they don't wonder if somebody's just
Somebody's out messing in there.
trespassing in the middle of the section, they don't get after them.
Yeah, they've done, Don's did a great job
He,
for us.
his communication is stellar, has been a great asset to work with, as far as the weed control, and you know, you don't wanna promise it, because some of this, without going into any more sordid detail, is somewhat at the mercy of the weather, but if things go according to plan, we potentially would have money left over, from this budgeted amount, and that's the goal, but you don't wanna, I don't wanna do a budget amendment on a little over $40,000 weed control budget, so.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, Sonia? We have Sonia Saturn with a presentation on drainage software, I believe.
Yes, and thank you for the invitation, Trish, and then for them. So, for Sandy, can we invite her to my Zoom link? Will that work? If we email it to her, she can connect.
Yeah, do you want to do that, or how do you want to do that?
Or
We
you
can
can
do
just
that.
face the two monitors at each other, and then she can see your screen.
Oh, I could do that.
Okay, sure. Let me grab it.
That might screw up the matrix.
Dad, what would we do without you? You're our wizard.
I know, I think we should make him our IT guy. I really do.
Well, except I
You
would
do better than everybody else, I don't know if you wanna be the IT guy.
Oh.
Showing it to you guys, so.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know if that'll
but then if we do that, we're gonna
But
lose...
Sandy is on this computer here, so she can turn this and face that.
I know, but I'm just saying, we don't, if we unhook her
Yeah,
DHI,
So disconnect the HDMI and plug that into yours, and then you can just face the her
Which
laptop.
would be-
We don't lose Kent.
yeah, that's what I was just saying.
Sandy both.
Okay.
And I've got a colleague of mine that I'm going to,
I'm gonna have Kim come in.
Sure.
I'm gonna get him on to join. It's Brian Richards, he's with, the advisory group.
I have a lady coming down from Udmo that I have to sign some papers, so if my phone beeps.
Absolutely, keep that.
Well, I sent the stuff that she sent me, and then the next day we had another meeting, so then she had to drive, she's driving down from Grettinger to get my signature, so...
When are they gonna physically move to their new facility?
I stopped in there on Wednesday, whatever day it snowed there, Thursday, I guess. They've got that all gutted, starting, it's probably gonna be spring, I guess, in March, April.
Because they gotta do some roof work, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
they can't probably do until it warms up.
Oh, into nicer weather, May maybe even.
Yeah.
Hello there. So we are setting up, we have a Zoom call that's going out to the county, so and we also have a supervisor that's called in for that as well. So what we're going to do is show, the camera, will be showing my computer for her, and then, we'll go ahead and let you do the demo so it's showing up on the screen here. Does that sound okay? Okay, well, let me go ahead and put you on speaker, Brian.
Is this what I'm supposed to do, is turn this around?
So she,
Point
towards the TV.
Towards the big screen.
Yeah, but sure, then point it
Is
up.
that what's on your monitor right now?
So, yeah.
Can you
I'll-
see that?
There you go.
I don't know, can't tell with the
Down
glare.
just a little. Down just a little bit. There you go, perfect.
I didn't know that I was an IT person either.
You are.
Hey, can you scoot it?
Hey, Sonia.
This way, a little bigger,
Yeah.
if possible.
Whoops, there went my cord. Hopefully we didn't lose.
Okay, actually, there, yeah,
That's just a power cord.
okay, I think we're good, I think we have it set up now, so it's
Is
projected.
that better, Sandy?
And Sandy's looking at the big screen TV for that, instead of my computer, so I think we're good. All right, I'm gonna put you on speaker.
Good.
All right, so we'll, start out, I've got an agenda up on the screen, if you can see that, I'll try to make it bigger here. So Brian Richards is with the advisory group, I've got him on the call as well, he'll be doing a lot of the demo as well as we walk through this.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
You want the curtains dimmed, or the,
Maybe
You
this
know, we
one.
got Dave, yeah, that one there, if you could just kinda turn the...
takes the brightness off of the...
That do it?
Yep.
Yeah, that really, that helps a lot.
All right, yep, that's good, thank you. Okay, I think we're ready to get started, we'll just start out, Brian, I'll let you kind of lead and walk through the agenda if you like.
That sounds great, Sonia.
Can everybody hear him okay?
Yep.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can talk louder if you need to, so. So thanks for the time this morning, and I'm sure Sonia's probably covered those thank yous and so forth as well. But we just want to kind of go over and keep this short and concise. The solution we're kind of looking at as a possible way to manage data and tasks and issues, can do a lot of different things, so we want to keep this narrowed down, and then give some time for Q&A and those kind of things, as they, they seem fit, as we have additional questions, as you have questions for us, and we can also do an additional follow-up sometimes, so we want to try and really respect your time this morning on this. But in general, quick introductions and agenda, who we are, if you guys would kind of introduce who all's there, just at a high level, and also a little bit about Notion. We'll spend a few minutes at a high level talking about what Notion is and what it's about, some of the possibilities. We'd also like to see kind of, what you're currently using, if you can kind of give us a high level or medium level version back of, what works, what doesn't, some things you would like to see. As far as, what you would like to achieve through a possible new solution. Really what you all have experienced is what's, really important here, and what you would like to achieve moving forward. Do some demo on Notion, how it could work, what are some of the options. We've done some, created some demonstrations for you all to be able to see how it works and so forth. Some more detailed discussion on that, and then any next steps. So, does anybody have something outside of that range they would really like to cover this morning in relation to the software that we use in trying to manage, the drainage ditch, tile, work orders, that kind of system?
Doesn't appear to be,
I
nope.
don't think so.
Okay, awesome, that sounds great. Well, from our end, we kind of went over the agenda, so from our end, the advisory group's a team that we really want to look at processes, challenges, and come up with solutions, you know, preferably with organization. Sometimes you gotta bring additional things in, new tools like Notion, that really help people do what they do better. You know, if it's something that, if we can't bring something valuable to a organization, to a problem or a challenge, you know, a solution's not gonna be value added, hopefully simpler, those kind of things, then we really don't wanna be a part of it. If there's something that's really valuable there and a great relationship, then we would love to be a part of that. Our goal on number 3 there, 1.3, is to create a better, kind of quote unquote, 'cause that's a big catch-all word that everybody uses, but a more effective solution that addresses gaps or shortcomings in a current structure or situation. We also want to make sure that in doing that we make something easier or more simple anytime it's possible. We don't want to over-engineer something just because it looks neat or there's more bells and whistles, that kind of thing. If we don't need that, it doesn't provide advantage, then we would really rather not, you know, do that. We would rather not put that into the system. So if it's simpler and easier and more efficient, then that's a great solution from our standpoint. If you would take just a few minutes, at least for my benefit, I know Sonia knows some of you, but if a minute, kind of talk about how you all work together towards this you know, drainage work order system, that type of thing, and whatnot, I would appreciate that. We would appreciate that.
All right, I'm Rick Peterson, Board of Supervisors Chairman. We have a 5-member board. We have Bruce Reimers, Sandy Loney, and Dave Lee, and Eric Underberg. And we work as trustees of our drainage districts. So we basically oversee them. We have a drainage clerk, who is new, but we have our past drainage clerk has moved up to auditor, so we do have a lot of experience here in the office. And we're looking to make things easier. Because right now, we're doing a lot of handwork, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Everything's pretty much done by hand, yeah, it's good. And, probably the biggest area of work is the levy process, isn't it, Trish? Figuring out
Yeah.
the dollars, distributing the levies over the...
And see, that all comes from the treasurer's side, so it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
I have a question, are you guys in like a Midwest? Where are you located out of, and how long have you guys been providing this service to the county? I guess I don't.
So we've actually not been in the county realm yet, but we have, my background is within this area in Humboldt. I have a finance background, but I also have systems background going back, 25 years. I started out in Access, but then kind of have established into ERP systems. So my main background is ERP systems. Notion I've been working with for just almost a year now, but Brian has a wealth of experience in Notion. So Brian, if you want to do a little intro on your experience as well.
Absolutely. So I come from a entrepreneurial background. Formal training was business administration, accounting, economics. Where the focus was some science. Originally started in the biomed and changed gears entirely and went to the business side of things. I have worked with manufacturing companies, other organizations, for-profit, not-for-profit. I've had a couple of companies in some when I was growing up, but those don't count. But since then, after training, I've had a couple of companies that I built up and grew, and so I really enjoy manufacturing. I enjoy organizations, and I like to take things apart and put them back together. The visual spatial piece is something that I just really enjoy. So that problem-solving, process improvement type situation. And so that's what I've done for a long time. I did that with the U.S. Department of Commerce for organizations inside the United States that competed against imported products. And then went solely private, and since then have worked with companies on ERP systems other types of solutions, process, flow, food safety, defense safety programs, that type of stuff. It's kind of been a pretty broad net that I've been lucky enough to be able to work within, with organizations for a number of years. And Notion is a relatively new program, and it actually came about, we'll jump down just a little bit about in the two, but it came about as far as being available for use, mainstream just a few years ago. And about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, it became very kind of cutting edge popular. And I ran across it about that time. And, and using Access and things like that for a number of years, and different types of systems, much like Sonia has. As soon as I saw it, I had one of those aha moments and said, okay, this is going to be really flexible and really nice and simple, but also intricate at the same time. And so I just kind of immediately fell in love with it, and I could just kind of see where the applications could show up and people could start benefiting from it. And so I've been using it since then. Originally, obviously, on a small scale, and then every single organization that I've used it with, and that we have used it with over the last year, has had benefit from it. And as you use it, you realize, wow, we could use it here, we could use it here, we could use it here. And the nice thing is that other than setup and time and those kind of pieces on that part of the solution, there's not an additional cost to it because you're already using it. So that's my background is, really systems, processes, ERP systems and other types of data management systems. All of my IT background has been even in SQL and stuff like that, but it's been specific around developing more effective solutions. So that's kind of my bent that I really enjoy. So.
Who's some of your customers that, we would possibly know? And what do they use it for? Is it just drainage?
So could you hear Sandy?
I couldn't quite
Okay.
hear some of it. I heard about customers and something, but I couldn't tell the rest of it.
So she's curious about what, some of the customers that we have and if we would know, maybe some that they would know.
Well, I have another question along with that.
Okay.
Is this sounds like a broad scale thing. I don't wanna jump ahead to the presentation, but has this ever been applied specifically to drainage?
Are there any counties?
Yeah, because we have a particular, and Rick kinda gave an overview, things to keep track of as it relates back to levying for, or is this just something you tailor make? Is there anybody using this particularly for drainage business in counties?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we could talk about all
Okay, so
this
that's
fun
the
and fuzzy
question. Yep.
stuff, and it's a great program, we can tailor it, but we are here specifically to drainage. Do you have any practical, examples or that it's been used for drainage?
Sure. So we
Well,
have
it's a twofold question, because we want to know what customers you've had, so maybe if we want to research it and talk to them and see how, how it works for them and how well your organization works with the customers also. Because, I've been on enough IT and data sales promotions where salesmen will come in and they'll give you one heck of a pitch, but when it comes time for working out the bugs and different things, I work for enough companies, I know what it's like, and I've been in on most of the discussions for that, so it can be a different story with what the salesmen do and what the actual customer service really is. And I'm not putting your company down, I'm just telling you my experience that I've had, and what I want to make sure we would not fall into if we would choose to do something like this.
That is a very, very wise comment, and that's a lot of knowledge in that. So, so the odd thing about this is, Sonia and I are, this is a sales call, if you will, but we actually do the development and support, and so there's not going to be a handoff to a different team that all of a sudden goes, I don't know what they told you and why they told you it would do that, because there's no way we can make it do that. I have been a part of that, and Sonia's background, part of her time in particular was about support and solutions for issues, specifically that came out of situations like the ones that you were just kind of referencing. And so it is very common in IT and ERP sales versus actual application scenarios. And so we look at everything from an actual application development support, functionality type. So you're really getting kind of the nuts and bolts ground. You're not going to get a lot of sales mushy. We've actually kept it really clean so we can just kind of see the functionality. So that being said, we have not put this with any other like situation, okay, with another, county, municipality drainage, work order system. So this would be custom for this one. That's one of the nice things about Notion is it's very cost effective and it's very easy and pliable to work with. And so in kind of talking through some things, and as we kind of looked at stuff last year and last fall a little bit, kind of messed with some demonstration stuff, and then more recently again around this specific scenario, it makes a lot of sense. And so this would be, and I don't know if anybody else has, I'd have to reach out and see if anybody else has used this similar type or this specific solution in again, would also kind of be a custom solution with another county or district or municipality. So not that I'm aware of. Which obviously makes us kind of like, this could be kind of an interesting, let's slowly walk toward this. But we're hoping that as you see the actual functionality here, that wheels start to turn and that this could be a really worthwhile conversation. So, but you're not going to get a lot of sales fluff in this call with us for this meeting.
So are you guys aware of all of the guidelines the state requires us when we're doing drainage?
No, we did not have a lot of insight into the pieces that you guys would need, those types of data information. So that's part of what we wanted to ascertain from you all is what are the specific needs, that kind of thing. So some things we can be read into, some things can be built in here, but we do not have that at this point in time.
Yeah, and I think the main request, as we talked, Trish, was to be able to track work orders. I mean, that's a huge thing. We'll kind of get into that. That's part of the agenda on what do you need for the system. Kind of a map was one of the things you brought up as well. So, so those are things we've incorporated into the demo. But there's definitely a lot of flexibility. We can add so much to this. So, so yeah, as we walk through the demo, you'll kind of see what we've built out for now, and we can definitely add, take away. There's so much adaptability in the system.
Well, we can
Okay.
proceed with your demo.
Okay, great.
So one of the things is, real quick as far as Notion, and then we'll kind of get into the rest of it, but is that, it's just a really simple and easy data management solution. It's much like an empty canvas where, if you were going to paint, okay, what do I need to paint? Well, I need my brushes and paints and then just a blank canvas. One of the challenges with Notion is it's a blank canvas, and so you have to know what to do with it. But at the same time, it's a blank canvas. You can do anything that you would like to. And so we kind of use that analogy. It allows you to manage information, systems, processes in a way that works best for you. And the big thing in that, if you look at point 2.2, Notion is kind of an updated version of Access, meets a web page or wiki links, the ability for comments, texting, back and forth, that type of thing, Evernote, etc. So it takes a number of these different systems and puts them into one system. So you don't have to integrate different types of systems it puts everything into one place, and it's very, very pliable or flexible. Every single application for Notion can be used on their actual, native app for Windows, for Mac, for Android, for iOS, also for anything from computers, desktops, laptops, tablets, phones, personal devices, if that was allowed. And so it makes it very, very user-friendly, makes it easy to access and get that information when I'm out in the field, or in office, or at home if I needed to grab some information for some reason, or working remotely, which, we all kind of found out that was a big deal last year. So that's kind of how this looks. It can't do everything, but it can do a number of things really well. So, and so you'll see that as we kind of get into it, but I'm just kind of trying to set what it is. It's a little difficult to grasp overall what it is because it does do quite a few things. So, as we progress in the Notion with the solution, and the other thing I really like about it, that we really like about it, right here, is that as it progresses, if we have a solution in place and we decide, you know what, this would work a whole lot better if we organized it a different way, or if we grabbed this piece of data and put it down here in this work order, for example, inside the work order. Notion is flexible enough or pliable enough that allows us the opportunity to change that and change how we manage the information. In the past, we always had to have primary keys for every single table. You don't have to have that anymore. So there's a number of things that make it really flexible, and the relationships between the tables allow you to really grab things, put them back in, nest them into each other, that type of stuff. And so, so that is one of the biggest benefits of it is, an organization continues to grow, change, manage information differently, or people differently. The software solution needs to be able to do the same thing. So,
Are you able to give different users certain priorities so that, like, say, the drainage clerk has full access, but the treasurer's office has another user profile? That's what I'm trying to come up with.
is it different profiles, different
Permission, yeah.
permissions for
Yep.
each person? Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. Yeah, it definitely has that, and depending on what level of the solution we have, there's some, basic and then a little more advanced in Teams and enterprise solutions come with additional features specifically around that and logins and all that kind of stuff. But read only, read and edit, full access, all those are all into the built into the system. And they're continuing to develop it more and more and more. It's really nice to see what they are doing, So the next piece we had, which we can just kind of talk about this all at the same time, but as far as what works well in your current system, what's acceptable, what doesn't work, we talked a little bit about that. And in talking through the rest of this, perhaps we kind of cover those as we walk through and make this 3, 4, 5, and 6 all very interactive. Does that sound like that works for you all? Or would you like to piece it out and just kind of share about your current system and then look at Notion?
Well, I don't know that we've got all day to try to write a program here. I mean, we could give them the gist of what, like Rick mentioned already, and Kim and Trish know more about what we're working with, but I think if we're trying to build a program from scratch.
Well, I think they're looking for what additional information you need on this program. I mean, if it's like Trish's program
We've got
that
a demo
I've seen
set up
before,
already.
it's three
We want to give you guys the opportunity to share,
all of the
hey,
work
what we
orders.
do right now, this works great, this is okay, and these are our biggest headaches that we have to kind of manage every single day. And you've said some of those already, which is why I thought maybe we just go ahead and jump on in to the demonstration, and then you guys can continue to throw those pieces out as we go, just to expedite
The
this.
demonstration, and then we can ask questions after that.
Okay.
That sounds
So-
Great, so we're gonna move on into the demo, is that correct?
Yeah, so one second, Brian, I'm gonna make sure I've got, your screen up here.
Oh, I thought you did.
Yeah, I actually had Notion, so I'm sorry. I was,
I thought that's what you were looking at, I was going through those as we went.
yeah, we were looking through them, I just had them pulled up on my end, so.
All right, so the primary piece, a lot like Access, okay, is we have databases. And the databases, you know, are tables, like Access, that's the part that's very similar. And so we have built out here work order database or table. We drill down on it, so we're looking at the table data. And so, you know, work order description, number, what type it is an option, when was it submitted. So these are the columns of data, just like you would see for anything else. Okay, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. Each of these columns can be, you know, if we look at a column here, a column can be a relationship to another table. Okay, it can be a formula. There's a number of different things. These are automatically captured by who filled it out, when it was created, when it was last edited, who did the editing, that kind of thing. Also, it can be, you know, a text field, numbers, a select, which means you get one choice out of a list, or multiple, which is a number of choices out of a list. You know, date, again, person, that's whoever was signed in, that type of thing, files and media. And so this is very similar to Access, okay? And as we step back, we have in the demo created one that's work orders and work requests. Because a work request, someone turns in a request for an issue, may or may not actually be a work order. Perhaps we want to review it first and then decide. You know, maybe it's something we can fix very quickly, just send somebody out, and it's not really a work order. So, or we move it in from here to a work order. Also, this keeps our data very clean. We have requests in one table, we have work orders in another. The table looks very, very similar, you know, but not as many fields, you know, for example. So, but enough to capture the information. Contractors who we work with, contacts, whether they're internal or with contractors or something else, or suppliers, those can all go into the same table and be related. You know, so I have, here's a contact, this is how it's related, okay? Also, I can see if we assign those contacts to specific work orders, they show up. So, and we'll move through a little bit quickly here, maximize the time, but we can always come back to anything, and you guys feel free to jump right on in with any questions. Work type, okay? Drainage, culverts, drainage ditch, tiles, there's a ditch. So if I have a table for this and I've got everything related, I can see all of the work that I'm putting into this, each of these areas. So all my drainage style, you know, work type. Here's where it was, here's all the different work orders. If I want to, I can pull in the cost of those, you know, whether they're completed or not, completed costs, estimated costs on ones that are open. And so I can see that information. I can see how many times I have gone out to a specific, you know, we go over here, down here, when in drainage districts, how many times I go out to a specific drainage district? How many orders do I have, that kind of thing. So do I see, am I starting to see trends that are related to the same district or the same line or branch or something like that, or how many times we've gone out? Okay, we've made it work the last 6 times, maybe we actually need to look at, you know, doing something more substantial, you know, this coming year or something like that and plan for it. So if we relate the information between the tables, it allows us to drill down and see a much more collective version of the data so we can make better decisions. So on a work order table, for example, then here's the difference between Access and Notion. One of the big differences about Notion is every single one of these records, okay, if we will, every single one of these is also actually a page. And so if I open this up, if I click on that record, it actually opens up an entire page. And so it's the same information. If you figure this is the header of my work order, so my work order header, and I can decide what I see and don't on the page. And then I can come down here, and I actually have a page of information specific to this work order. It can have additional tables, other pages, other information. So this one happens to be set up as an example. reported by, who reported it, phone number, do they need a call back, yes or no, that type of thing. This information can relate up in here, so I don't have to drill down on the page to see some of this. The location, information's there. We've nested a map in here as an example. And then if you wanted to do an activity log or an actions log or task, and we've got some other examples of that. So the nice thing about this is every single record is also a page, and every single page can have additional tables or records or embedded images, maps, that type of stuff to it. So another example of that here is this one. So here's one where this map shows the the actual specific drainage map. There's a place in here we put in here also for comments, so as somebody continues to make a list of comments, I go out and actually visit the site, I can start to make information right in here, first visit, and I can do this right there on my phone or on a tablet. I don't have to have a laptop, same interface, I can collect that information. So I'm just going to show you how quickly and easily you can actually capture even like a photo or a video on your phone, and it'll feed directly right into the database. If there's any additional contractors, who's involved in this, okay, so Tiles or Us is involved in this, I can go in here and I can open up their information. Okay, Kenny's actually the one doing this. I can drill down, I can go to Kenny, and if I'm looking at Kenny and I happen to have Kenny's phone number or something in here, I can take a look at that. So if I go back, I'm working my way back through the pages, so it's just like going backwards on a website, and then I'm eventually back to the work order database. And so in here, what we have captured is a work order number when it was submitted. We can actually have a submitted on date that I can go in here and I can pick. I can also have this entry date here, which I cannot edit, because it automatically is captured by the system. So if I want to give my people an opportunity to put a date in, I certainly can. However, this is automatically captured every single time. This range here, this work order date range, okay, when we think it's going to take place, how long it might take to implement the solution. That's a date range here, and I can just include my end date. I can also include a time if I would like, but this is end dates, so this is probably going to run from the 3rd to the 26th, but I can keep track of that. And so, without getting too much more into this, but types, subtypes, the contractor it was assigned to, the contact, and that would be up to us. If we didn't want that, we don't have to. Who reported the issue? Any equipment that's needed. So if we have specific equipment resources, obviously if everything needs the same resource, we only have one of them, we can't all schedule that at the same time. It's not going to work. So we would have to do basically kind of a timeline where we've got to, schedule that resource out to be able to do the work that needs to be done. So the other piece here is status. Has it been assigned? Is it new? Is it delayed? We're waiting on parts or something like that, waiting on materials to come in, what the priority is. Any files and photos can be put in here, or like we saw, we can also load it directly onto the page. That's up to us. I can do in this information here. So now if any questions on the table? Okay, it's pretty straightforward, similar to what you guys are used to in Excel or Access, anything like that. So if we come back out, and all those tables work the same, they can be related, and we come over here and we look at, drainage clerk dashboard. And so this is a really nice thing about Notion, is we can kind of create the dashboards the way we would like. And so each one can go all the way across. I can have multiple columns of dashboards. So, but this dashboard or heads-up display, if you're a pilot or whatnot, that is where I can come in here and I can see, okay, here's what I'm looking at. And so in this example, work orders and requests. Okay, so I see, there's some new requests. And so if I want to go in here and look at this, I've got a new request in here from Tom Collins. There's no actual information on what it is, but if there was, it would be, hey, this is the address, here's what's going on. This is the information about the request that might need a work order. Let's see here. Also, we've got one here from Susan. So those are just examples real quick. If a work order would come in and I can review the work order. and then either copy or move it, or open manually, that'd be up to me, the actual work order. And so this looks just like the table, okay? And so this is and this has been filtered, and so this is one of the really wonderful things about this. A filter is set up where I want to see work orders where, you know, it's a work order, and is it closed? Closed is empty, so it's not closed. There's no date closed. So these are just the open work orders. And so it's just straight out in table form. But I can also look at the work orders in gallery form. Same exact information, but now I'm looking at them based on, we made different examples, some with no information in the page, some with maps and so forth. And so we've got in here, so this is a gallery, so now I can look and see, okay, here's my mediums, highs, I can filter these, I can sort these so they show up in a certain order, like for example, all my highs first, then my mediums, then my normals or lows. I can sort them if I want to see all my work orders, and I can see unassigned versus assigned, that type of thing. So gallery is another way to look at the information. I want to drill down, I just click on it, now I'm on that specific work order, and here's the information.
Brian, I have a question.
Brian?
Can you make this accessible to contractors so they can pull up the work orders that they have and add
Yes.
pictures and updates directly to the program?
Yeah, they can actually,
Absolutely.
yep,
Go
they
ahead, Sonia.
can, so the contractors could also have access to the system. You can set different priorities to what they can see. And then they could actually be out on site and add information. They can add photos right on site to within the program. The app would be on their phone or a tablet. I mean, there's various opportunities, devices.
So if they're actually working in the area, they can look on their phone, oh yeah, I got this other work order just a mile away, I could...
Yeah, so they're only gonna see what they're assigned to.
Right, 'cause this, yeah, can it be specific enough that they can only see their information? Like, if you can see...
There's a few ways to do that, and one is giving them a separate table where we can actually just move the data. So one of the things is, in a table, I can move this as an example, and I won't at the moment, but really quickly. If this was overall work orders, and this was work orders that are specific to culvert masters, I can take this and I can say, okay, I want to move this over into this database, okay? So I can simply tell it which database to move it into, and I can move it back. And I may have less information, or I can also make a duplicate where I say duplicate this because I want it in my database and I want to give it to them so that they can see it as well. And then anything they do that doesn't ever impact the master, you know, work order, that type of thing, all that information. And then when I'm done, what we have talked about is it might be you can move it back into the main database, or actually move it when it's completed, and you go ahead and you go in and let me get back here real quick. So it goes from them doing it back into, there we go. So as an example, it went from a work order request, and and for example, you know, Trish, I know you've done a bunch of these over the years, but, and now we've got some new folks in here, but you know what, I want to see requests first. Okay, so I just move my requests first. It's that easy to move information around if I want to. I have to know I have to grab this, that type of thing. But now the data's still there, the link's still there, it just shows up down here. So here's my requests, right here. Here are my work orders that are open, and I've signed them, and then when they're completed, they come down here and say, okay, these are completed, but I might want to actually make sure that I review this and mark it as it has been, see here, final sign-off, okay? And so, final sign-off, this is completed, it's good, we've seen everything, the information's here, the updated photos are here, everything is done. And so in doing that, now if I look at it down here, it's going to show up down here. And so, because it has been completed. And so this is one where it's also been completed. So this could be in the same database, same table, I should say, of information. Or one thing that Sonia and I talked about is having an archived table, because again, you can just, the tables are identical as far as the fields. You just move the record from your active work order table to your archive. Everything that's in Notion, you know, it is cloud-based, they have security in place and so forth, and everything is backed up, and you can go back and recapture anything that was deleted. If something got deleted by accident, if somebody had permission to do that, and they did it, but it was an accident. Or you make a change and go, you know what, actually that worked really well, I want to bring that table of information back. And for 30 days, you can go back and recapture any individual change or group of changes that you would like. And so, and we've had customers use that, where they've made changes, and decided they actually really liked to go back, and so we went back and grabbed that information and put that back into place. But I really like having a separate table of information for the archive. The archive is the archive is the archive. It's identical. And because of your dashboard, I can see, in essence, this would just be, instead of coming off master work orders, this would, if this was the archives, because it was completed, it would just come off the archive work orders table. So, but it'd be in the exact same place. I can still see them side by side. We put in here also actual versus estimated. If we drill down on one of these, we had an estimated cost versus an actual cost field. Let's see, are they in? Let's grab this one here. Estimated versus actual, the variance is $105 negative. You know, we can see that. I can see the total. So if there were 3 of these in here, I would see a total of whatever that was. I'm over or under estimates versus actuals. I can do the exact same thing with the number of days that it took. I estimated it was going to take 2 weeks to repair and fix. It took 3, or it took 1, or the number of days it took. It took 9 days instead of 14. And so I can keep track of that information as well. How fast am I closing my work orders? How many work orders do we have open versus not open, that kind of thing. So I can have a separate dashboard, you know, for a supervisor. You know, where maybe I see work orders, you know, that type of thing. Completed work orders, there's that gallery, so completed work orders was here. It'll refresh the view pretty soon, so these are the completed ones. I don't even have to have the individual line, you know, separate sections. I can, but if I just want to have one where I've got all my views, I can just go, okay, so show me this one. All right, I can just move back and forth between the views in one place. So again, some people really like to have it laid out. Some people, everybody's brain works a little bit differently. And so, you know, I want to engage the information the way it works best for me, but as we still accomplish what we need to accomplish as an organization. One of the other boards here, take a look at this. So here's one of the things that, actually, let's go back. That's in the clerk dashboard, I think. So if I'm looking at open work orders, and I want to go to my board for open work orders, okay, I can see it by township, for example. You know, let's talk about where that is. I can see what that is. I can also, and it's sorted, but I can also look at it with any other field that I'm allowed to use, you know, in my dashboard, in my view. Okay, these are technically all called views. The dashboard seems to make, you know, it kind of resonates with everybody. So if I want to, and I can do this for priority, I can do this for status, I can do this for which contractors I have it assigned to. But in particular, if I change this, I'm going to say, hey, you know, this is now actually a high priority, and it's the #1 high priority. I just drag and drop it. It automatically changes the field value for the status field, or for the priority, field, from medium to high. And this one actually is kind of a non-issue now, or you know what, it's fine, we'll move it over here. So it really does not have a priority, cleared out, but we do need to come back and revisit it. I still want to keep it open, you know, and so this one, maybe this one, 619, is actually the bigger priority, so I can move that up here in the list. And so I can do the same thing for my contractors, if I have a separate table for them, and it's just their information. It's still going to be high, medium, normal, low, high, medium, normal. So I can manage that information, and as soon as they log in, or if they get to the site, go, oh, okay, I've got 3 of these in this area, these 2 are high, this one's not, but I've got everything I need, or I can make sure I have everything I need when I leave and go take care of that. I'm going to go ahead and catch that anyway. Or this was low, but now it's high, I better go immediately take a look at it. And I can also, in this, as an example, if I'm managing this and I move this to high, I come down here in this comment, you know, and, you know, I want to go ahead and I want to I can specifically add a comment to, like, the contractor. So, so you're at, let's just say something as the contractor. This needs to be done immediately, for example. Okay, this is going to show up, if she had sent that to me or to somebody else, it would show up here in updates. It would have a little red, flag on it, so the contractor would see on their home page, a little update that not only this is here, and I can see it when I drill down, oh, this needs to be done immediately, because I see it's been moved to a high status, that type of thing. It'll show up here and go, hey, I've got messages. And if that message shows up and I click on it, it'll take me directly to this page and show me the information and so forth. Okay? So I can use this to communicate back and forth. If there's an approval that's needed, that type of thing, that can be in there. If we put an approval field in, somebody needs to approve something before it moves forward, then that can, hey, this is ready for approval. We would go in and check, like a checkbox or whatever else, and needs approval, check it, and now all of a sudden it shows up on a dashboard for whomever does the approvals. And so we're moving pretty quickly in a lot of this. One of the other pieces, we talked about the date range. And so if I have a date range where I can see my open work orders and when they're supposed to be worked on or completed, again, I can drag them from here, I can drag them over, from one day to the next, and we'll adjust when they start. So now I said, okay, this is supposed to start on the 15th. Or it's supposed to start on the 1st, we had to move it, it's now starting on the 15th. That actually just updated the record. We've got some examples of the maps. We can do master maps on here that would have the information. And Sonia, you want to talk about the overall work order map as well?
Yeah, so one of the things I know that, Trish, that you maybe like is marking your work orders on a map. So that's actually a replica of what Ben has with the engineer office in their system. And so
I think that would be great for the supervisors to be able to physically also to see if they had it on their phone. Oh, there's a bunch of them up here, maybe I'll go check on them, or, so-and-so's got a problem, I suppose we can contact that contractor to see if they can do more.
Yeah, so
Can you
is an
import,
example of that.
can you import tile connections, like GPS locations into this too?
Yeah, I think that actually is in this Google map. We've incorporated, so that you can link this to a Google map, and then we input the points, and then it takes you to that plot on the map, and then you can mark that work order. Just identify it with the work order number so that you can plot it, and then the color coding is for, what type of issue is it? Is it tile, is it, you know, what
That's
is
something
it?
we could do it with projects too, you know, like the DD 35 branch C with, tile in them. We had to go back out, you could mark where they found these things. You could identify follow-up bits and pieces. Everybody would see it and be on the same page as far as contractors, fire engineering, supervisors, clerk.
So to be able to start at the map, is that what you're,
Well, they'd be able to see,
to see the plot points on the map?
yeah, the plot points, and then be able to
More
go
information.
into the notes and say, well, so-and-so followed up with them on this day. The contractor said this, they've identified such and such tile connections, and
Yep.
just more of a
Yeah, and we
inclusive
can,
record-keeping.
and one of the things on this is that every single page is a link. And so any place in here or on a map or whatever that you can add a hyperlink, even in a database, it will link directly to, so even this page right here for work order 1000 has a URL hyperlink. And so I can paste that into any spot to be able to link those individual work orders to whatever it is I want to make sure I have it in.
So if it's in a map, or you could link the
yeah,
work
even though-
order.
yeah. And vice versa, your maps have
And then
links
just-
themselves as well, so that, like, for example, we've got this one embedded here. I know we've got a couple embedded in some work orders as well, so that you can see that. And you can also, because they're embedded, work your way back out to the original if it needed to be updated or something like that. And
You could
I
have a
can't
large
find for the life of
project
me where
file.
the work orders are. Oh, you know what?
two,
Oh.
and then you
I bet
want
they're
to do
down.
project
Go ahead.
tracking.
Okay, so Tricia's question is about projects, if we can set up a project and then do project tracking. Yeah, we absolutely could set up a project database, yeah.
Be
And
the
then-
same kind of, different.
And then you have, would you have different work orders assigned to that project? Is that kind of,
Or even, I think something that you guys haven't touched on, if you had a project like King Construction up there, you could make it a requirement that every day they list that they went from station 590 to 570. They found a
They could load
connection
the
at
information to it.
584, you know? And,
Yeah.
and do like a daily diary on that specific work order.
yeah, like a
Bypassing our
progression?
need for the, engineering firm to relay the
Yeah.
information later.
So here's a template real quick on a project. This is just one of the demos that we've got, where we put in a time frame, you know, when we actually started, so there's our estimated time frame when we started, when it was actually completed, once it's done. You see here, these little arrows mean it's related, so there's an actions table. So there's an entire, in this database, this demo database here, which is separate from the one we did for you guys, but there's an actions table. So all of my tasks or actions are in there. But these are related to this specific project. Also, if there's any meetings or events, I can have those in here. I can see the progress. This is related directly to these actions, and if they're completed. So right now, neither of these two have been completed, but I can see that. I can also see that out here. I'll show you in a second. Status. Down here in the page, so this is a template, so it's set up that automatically, every time I have a new project, it's gonna pull in a section for quick links, any resources that are needed, the actions related to this specific project, the meetings related, and I can add them right here. So if I'm on this project, and I'm making notes and so forth and everything else, you can just say, you could even use this for all of your meetings, okay? And they would tie in, so every single meeting that's related to this project could be linked in right here. So this is actually a meeting here, but if I took notes, they could either be on this specific event, or I could create a separate one that says, here's all my additional notes, and, you know, research, et cetera.
Oh, you
But
can have
this action,
preset.
I could put in each one of those waypoints you were just talking about, you know, and then as they got completed, they go in here and they mark them complete. And if I complete this one, for example, and my progress just went from, you know, 0 to 50%, because there's only two, but whenever I add another one in here, okay, it's gonna add it directly into the space, and it's gonna now show up also in the actions list. So, for example, if there were work orders that I wanted to use in the system that are related to this project, then once I added it here in this project, I don't have to go add that action or task in my task list or my work order list. I just did, because it's related, and this is where I've got I've got information from a table inside of a page from my project table. And so as soon as I put that in here, it automatically updates my work order list or my action or task list. As soon as I put it in here, it's going to show up there. So as I'm doing my work orders and I mark them, or my tasks, and I mark them complete and they're related to this project, it's going to show up in here automatically that they're related. I don't have to, if I'm out there doing stuff in the field, I don't have to come back to the work order and update, the project, and update the project also, because it's already related. So when I mark the task or the work order complete, it's going to automatically update the project. And I know this is a lot all at once, but that would be a quick example of how to manage the different waypoints you have as you work through a project, because projects are much bigger than normal.
So on that project that Trish and Ben were describing, is there a number of, 'cause that was like a over 2 mile project, different sections, is there a limit to the amount of stuff you could put in there, like pictures, tile locations? I mean, is it basically limitless?
It's, the recommended solution, there are some basic, versions of Notion, that, have a limit. But the versions that we're looking at for something with this, also with the security and everything that would be, required, and obviously wanted, but, it's unlimited. And each Notion calls each one of these pieces, of records, relationships, called blocks. And so there's unlimited blocks. But the answer is it's unlimited for what we're looking at.
Okay, if you have a project, you've completed it, 5 years down the road, you had another project in the same area, is this gonna pull up the old project and tell you what you done then?
Absolutely can, and that's why we like, so remember when we looked at, there's an option to use a select, where you pick something from a list and it's just built into the table, or you can relate it to another table. If we keep track of things related, then I can see, and quite frankly, I could see all of the ones in that district, or on that branch, or that specific tile. And so if I wanted to come in here and look at this and go, okay, when's the last time I fixed this? Does it feel like, or maybe I've done this 3 times this year. I go, it feels like about 7. I know it's only been 3, okay, and there were specific circumstances around each one. Or, yeah, it actually has been, we fixed this thing 6 times, we need to look at doing something different. And so that information would be available. You can see what's related to that, same equipment, or that same tile, or that same, drainage ditch or whatnot.
Really, anything
You can go back and look at it.
Anything you set up in the system, you can look at it by project. If we set up, we have the drainage district set up, so you can look at anything by drainage district. You could pull it up by, the branch even, so if you want to look at all of the work orders, or all of the projects that are associated with this branch, whether it's been completed or not, you can filter on, okay, I only want to look at completed, or I only want to look at what's open for that branch. It's...
So with this, can you attach like your engineering reports and your as-built mapping after it's done?
So like a PDF document?
Yeah.
Yes, you can embed documents into here, so, that's unlimited as well, right, Brian? The number of
Yes.
documents that are embedded.
Being new to this, I've taken a handful of phone calls already that I cannot answer because I don't know how to backtrack, how much has been done in that district. I don't know how to cross-reference that. This would do everything for me, and right now I'm working on FEMA projects They wanna know every single engineering report that has been charged against those projects. I'm starting back in 2019, and I have to go through each individual month of invoicing, and you could have everything attached.
Yeah, it would all be in here. You could attach your claim, you know, your bills
Right.
from the contractor if you need to.
Just the knowledge that just attaches to, like you say,
You could just
cross-reference it with a district, and then you can just start narrowing down each section. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and as an example, you can embed PDFs, maps, stuff from Google Drive, if, you know, some people want to do that, you know, information off the web. One of the things in particular, let's say I'm doing some research on something, I'm getting ready to move this down there we go, and I'm getting ready to do, you know, a new project. Well, if I'm out here, Notion also has this nice little web, you know, clipper. And so I can just simply, oh yeah, I want to capture this for later. And I can come up here and I can hit this, and I can tell it, I want to save this, and I can pick where I want to save it, and even to what individual page, if I want to save it to it. Or it can be to a table, and it'll create an entry. So if I have what we often call a library, you know, then it'll save that snippet or that information or the entire page, and that'll be with everything in it. The photos, the articles, the information, even the weather would be there. So it makes it very easy, because I don't want to have to remember where this is. I don't want to have to go back out here. But if it's in my Notion, you know, later, and I want to go back and review it later to make some notes for this project that we're getting ready to do, it's right there inside of Notion at that point. I don't have to go back out and find it again. It's a little thing, but it's going back to what you were just talking about. It's one of those pieces where if it can all be in one place, that really makes it a lot easier. So that's what made me think of that.
be incorporated with our website, like if somebody goes to our website and says, I wanna make a request, and then it would pop up in your,
Yeah, so that work request,
There's two ways we can make this a little more available, and you can make a page in here public. You know, there are people that use Notion for their, you know, data-based website. Notion uses Notion for their website. But you can also, there are also options to use forms, where you can embed a form on the web page, and then the form actually fills the information out inside of Notion. So there's a couple of ways to do that.
cool.
Yeah, that makes it really easy for them to you know, to do that. I would also say that this work request page likely is open to each of the contractors or the staff, you know, the board, while people are out and about and they see something, you can just pick that up. And you can make shortcuts if you have an Android or an iOS, for example. There's also the little app. You can just open that up real quick and capture just that request. You know, and again, I don't have to have a lot. I can have a photo and where it is, and you know, share my address, share my location if they really want to. You know, I mean, the easier it is, the more likely we're going to get that request in and have that visibility if there's an issue.
How much data is stored in this program? I mean, are we gonna have to upgrade our computers every year?
No.
Because of the data is overloaded?
description.
And it's on the big backbone. I forget which one it is off the top of my head, but now it can handle as much information as we want to put into it.
Okay.
So much like an ERP system, you know, that they're, you know, predominantly cloud-based now, so.
In other words, in 5 or 10 years, that data's not gonna drop off of there. It'll always be there?
Correct.
How hard is it to import?
And the data can also be
Hey,
exported.
Brian, hold on, Sandy's got a question, she's kinda hard to hear, so.
Okay.
I was just curious, how hard is it to, say, import, information that we have maybe, say, on another database somewhere or some kind of computer system, and how hard is it to export, the information, if we need to?
So importing and exporting into Notion or out of Notion?
Yeah, there are certain requirements. CSV, you know, is a, let's see, if we come in here, and I don't know if we've got this one set up, but I can export it as PDF, HTML, Markdown, CSV. I can import information from a CSV. CSV is the primary way, but if I wanted to export, for example, if I wanted to send a page to somebody that needs the summary of the work order and everything included in it, I could just export a PDF of that specific work order to someone. And it's just a PDF, you know, it's relatively uneditable. You can edit them some, but you're gonna have the original anyway. So as far as from a single page to the data, Excel CSV file type format makes it really easy to bring stuff in and out. Also exporting an entire table or set of tables, you know, if you ever wanted to make a backup of something just in case, or to move it somewhere else, you know, you can export that information out, and be able to go a different route at some point if you wanted to.
So as far as importing, if you had, you know, data in Access, you'd be able to get that into a CSV, you know, through Excel or however, and then you can load it in.
Okay.
Yeah, in Excel, information in Excel.
I have everything from like 2011
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So you convert it to a CSV and then bring it in.
Brings it that way.
Yeah, the basic structure, again, on these tables is really similar. And so the fact that you guys have this Access background is gonna make this part here make so much sense. And be a kind of an easy transition from a thought process. And then the thing that's gonna be really wonderful is that, you know, okay, I can come down here and, actually fill out this page of information. I don't know if we've got the template set up on that or not.
Yeah, maybe just in the work orders.
It's what I get for running Zoom and,
Yeah.
Teams at the same time, and a call. So we just, and this example here is just, we didn't know what you wanted, but, you know, you can say, is there a callback requested or not? You know, what are the comments or the notes, and it's gonna be bullets or an outline form, but whatever your standard work order looks like, wherever your maps go, your photos go, that kind of thing, you know, you come up here and you hit new, and you can have 6 different templates. You may have a template for tiles versus ditches, versus culverts, and so, because you want different information on each one of those.
So how hard is this gonna be to teach to some drainage people that have been doing stuff for years and sending the pictures to Trish or to whoever with a flip phone? Well, I'm saying, we got several of them out there.
Does.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Takes a picture of his picture.
Yeah.
of his-
And that's the problem, the user friendly, I mean, I guess that's, if we each had our grandkid or our kid with us, we would be good, but they know how to do it, and they look at us like, wow.
I think the best example, because that exact same question comes up every time we talk through this, because, you know, this is about, you know, the drainage system, but, you know, we've used this, in several, not every single solution, but several solutions for maintenance, whether it's preventive maintenance or, you know, work order system for maintenance departments or whatnot, for organizations, manufacturers, that kind of stuff. And it's the same kind of thing, like, I don't want to mess with a computer. Sometimes people do, but a lot of times people, especially in those arenas, you know, like, I want to go out and do stuff. I want to get my hands dirty. I want to make sure I get things working well. You know, that's what I feel good about. I don't want to mess with my phone and everything else, that kind of thing. But what we have found, and I think this would be a good time real quick to show your phone, Sonia, and kind of show how easy it would be to fill out a work order or engage one, take some photos, that kind of thing. What we have found is that as long as you have a phone that can take photos, and that you have a phone that you can do like text messaging on, and you use it for those kind of things, and even maybe a little bit of, you know, web-based, you know, like, I want to go out and check something out on Google real quick, you know. Most people are familiar enough or use their phones. They're kind of becoming, fairly ubiquitous for those kind of things. And if you can do that, this is really pretty simple to do. And in the maintenance, preventive maintenance and maintenance areas that we've used the solution for other work order type systems, or preventive maintenance type systems, the users, the people out there actually doing the maintenance, have found it really easy to use, and quite frankly, they don't have to go up and get an approval or whatever else, or like, okay, their new work orders, so they just show up right there on their phone, and or tablet. Some of them do use the tablets and stuff now as well, you know where you are, and so it makes it really easy to do that. So it's not, 100%, yay, we love it, but, because, you're never going to have that, but it has been pretty well received, and some folks in particular that I can think of, a couple of customers that really thought we were going to have some major issues getting them on board, actually really liked it. And so it's a mix, but I think all in all, from what I have seen, it's been pretty well received and pretty easy to use. And I think you should just look at it real quick on her phone.
Sure, yeah, before I do have it pulled up here, but one thing on that too is you can really make the decision internally on how you want to handle that. If you have people who are just not going, if contractors that are just not going to get on a device and upload it, maybe request that they at least can do that on their computer at home, or if they can get you the information,
They
to
could
your clerk.
literally walk the information into the office and the clerks could enter it in.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, or a phone call, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's kind of really up to you on how you want to
That's what
handle
they're
it.
doing now, is they're walking the information in.
Yep.
Most of the
I
time.
have some that would
Okay.
text me back pictures and
But even if they can
locations.
text you to your phone, you can transfer from your phone.
to them.
To that.
Well, I think the whole gist of this is, they being the contractor doing the work, has the access enough to this to send it directly. So it doesn't go to, that was always the bad thing, they text it, well, great, but then sometime you've gotta put it in there, we might as well just bring in a picture.
Yeah.
So
Well,
this
and-
way, so they have direct linkability to their project. to
Right.
Send data points, pictures, whatever,
Yes.
themselves.
On that point, though, if they do text it, and they happen to text it, I mean, I don't know who they're texting it
Oh,
to.
whoever.
Yeah, but if it is the clerk, then the clerk has the app on her phone. You can actually save that photo they've just texted, and then you can just load it into that project.
Oh, okay.
So, if they text it to you, you can just save it and then
So you
load
don't like
it.
have to go into your computer,
Right.
send it in an email, and all these different steps
Okay,
that
you can just
we're done now.
directly into it.
Right.
I have those.
You might find out, you'll see, we're gonna do the demo real quick, but you might find out that, you know what, I don't want them in there. Actually, if they can text me the photos and the key information and verifications, I will take that, and you can even do a screenshot of the text message, and load that into the work order and go, I'm gonna put the stuff into the system.
Yep. I think Eric had a quick
As easy as
point.
possible for
Well,
them to do that,
Right, and I appreciate that too, maybe you don't even want them to.
Yeah, hold on, Brian.
Going, I just want the information in,
He
I'll put
can't,
it in.
he's gonna keep going. Hey, Brian.
Well, this is a
One more question.
big picture question. I understand, and by no means a IT expert like them, but, this is all cloud-based. We're talking about a terrific amount of data,
Right.
all right? So obviously, this is gonna have a cost attached, a subscription, whatever. So, we're talking about, even if you started from scratch today and inputted data and used this for several years, this is not on anyone's, our local owned servers, hard drives, computer programs. This is all cloud-based on someone else's server.
Correct.
What if down the road, you say, okay, this isn't it? I mean, there's a disagreement, it costs too much, somebody makes a decision to get out of this. What happens to all that information?
Yeah, 'cause we need that information
Yeah.
for 150 years, we gotta build access.
Well, yeah, we're talking about stuff that could be in there, that you could look, I mean, yes, and not arguing that this doesn't have the ability, but the fact is, sometimes nothing lasts forever,
Mhm.
And it's just down the road,
Yep.
you would say, this isn't working, we're not happy with this, we don't have nice people like Brian and Sonia anymore to work with, the new people that we're working with, we can't get along with, we just can't work. There's a lot of information, this is years down the road, what happens to it?
Yeah, that's a good
That's my big picture question.
And
You
I
did it way
would,
better than I was going to.
What's
yeah,
that?
I would say, I mean, just thinking initially, you know, load all your work orders out into a CSV file, and, you know, then you have it to import into another system, or however, you know, I mean, I can't say what, you know, what that
I don't want
requires,
to
but
see a
you
bunch
have
of, because there's some work required, we're talking about who can do what, put a text message where, who has access. Yes, this system could be quite simpler than what Trish has been fighting with for a number of years, but in the big picture, if you use this, there's a tremendous amount of data there. And it's,
Correct.
we don't physically have it.
Right.
The cloud does.
But we need to have...
Yes, if we put data in there and this all worked, and we put a tile project with all the tile connections on a big new tile project, and it's all there, and that's the only place it is, what happens if 5 years down the road, you say, this is not working? Then you're saying, well, you gotta go back then and you have to have it someplace else. Well, then you could end up in a tremendous fracas if you solely relied on this system for, you input so much data into it, and you suddenly are not using the system any longer.
Yeah.
That's the same question I had earlier. How long is this data
One
gonna be
second,
there?
Well, it's gonna be there forever, but we don't physically have it.
Right.
That's what made me think of it when you brought that
Back it
up.
up. Can we back this up once a week or once a month?
Yeah, they're talking about backups.
It is.
Yeah, and like an automatic,
I know it does.
yeah, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
hey, not our problem.
And so I'm saying, like, so a little bit ago, when you just started talking, this was, I think, is what you had just said, it was cutting it out a little bit for me.
Just 1 second, Sandy.
Yeah, where your question and stuff stemmed from, which I think this is a really great question. One, the data is available, you know, and so, and it's your data. And so you can, it will always be your data. And there are options to say, okay, well, we don't want to use it anymore, we want to keep it for reference, we don't want to do anything with it. So we just go down to a kind of a minimum, here's what we would need to do to have a good, secure minimum solution. And now we're going to manage it somewhere else and do new stuff. And so that would be an option. Absolutely, I mentioned, like, you know, just so we have the data and so forth, occasionally we want to export the information out, that kind of a thing. But so that it's also somewhere else. The company, Notion, does a great job on, like I said, you know, keeping all those backups and all the data available, even on an individual per piece. Oh, I want this page back. I don't want all the rest of the stuff, but I want this page. They do a great job with that. It's been really nice to have that. But at any point in time, and with any system, at some point, if you change the system and decide to go with a different system, then you have to figure out either do we use a legacy system and the new system, which is kind of what I just talked about, or do I move all of my data over to the new system? And so this would be the same as that. I mean, if at some point I decided to change, then I would have to make that decision of, do I keep this legacy system going in a cost-effective way, and use the new system, because now the new system's great, we don't like, you know, the old system or the people or whatever, like you said. Or the other option would be, export all the data out of this system into the new system, much like we would do on the front end if this happened to be a good solution. Then we would take all of the access, or however much that we did or didn't want to have from the existing system, which would be the old system, into the new system. So it'd be very similar to that, but the information and the data would be available. You know, I don't see that being losing that or not having access to it. I don't see that being an issue.
I think we had a quick question from Sandy. Was there anything else, Sandy, that you, okay.
He answered it very well, because I've worked with enough systems, and we've changed computer programs and different companies, and there's always a way to export, and that's why I asked about the export.
Mm-hmm.
You can always export your information into it, and they have to allow you so much time. You know, when you give your notice that you're going to cancel the service, and then
physically print everything out
Right.
and retain it that way also.
Or,
Well,
you know,
then you're sort
export,
of defeating the purpose.
yeah.
Like,
But
if
if
you
it's,
decide to,
Or the PDFs.
PDF,
PDF on every
yeah.
single record.
Yeah.
and save
We're
that.
headed
If we're gonna
several
get
ways.
updated, get computerized and everything, there would be no reason, if we do make this leap, there would be no reason that we would go back to paper. We would always go into either a new program that either, does a better job or is, more cost effective.
Mhm.
And that's
Go back
what
to the
you
stone
do, yeah.
tablet and
You know,
so-
we're not gonna go backwards, I mean,
You
that would
wanna export all the CSV, all the PDFs,
Mhm.
all the pictures.
So essentially, if you severed ties because of whatever, you would have this data transferred. Sandy makes the point, she's worked in this with industry.
Yeah.
You transfer that data to a different system.
Yeah, it's your data, so, yep.
It is, so that it isn't, because I mean, you gotta look at the big picture, it's, nothing's forever.
No.
And things do change.
Right.
Especially the software.
Okay, go down to the brass tacks, what's it cost?
Yeah, bring to that bottom
Yeah.
line,
If it's user-friendly that way, it should
scroll down, as they
go
say.
out.
Scroll down.
Right, and one of the things that's really exciting that's coming up probably by the end of 2021, if not sooner, that Sonia and I are both excited about, and this is an example towards the story that we're walking through right now here to, how do we handle this if, what if scenarios. But one of the things we're excited about is that Notion has an API in place for one piece of what they do. They're getting ready to, and they've been working on an API, which is basically an interface that allows this system to connect with another system. And like, we've got some ERP customers that were using Notion for some of the quality and the audits and the work orders and maintenance and all those kind of things, but we're gonna tie that into their ERP system. And so, in doing that, that's gonna allow us to, that would be another option is, you could really use the API to get all the information out into another system if you wanted to as well. So,
Well,
that would be another option down the road. So they're gonna continue to build up options to bring stuff in and out, because that kind of works.
I think that essentially answers the question. You wouldn't put a whole bunch of, data into this, and then if you can get it out, whether new system, different system, whatever,
Mhm.
it's your data.
Right.
So, we got a couple of requests. Rick likes to use computer terminology and say scroll down, and Dave would like to know, is there an approximate cost of this? We know it can't be an exact cost,
Yep. Brian,
so we're kinda getting toward the,
Yeah.
kinda wrapping this up. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here amongst ourselves over time, but...
Absolutely. And we kind of wanted to see, what the interest was and what you guys needed, that kind of thing, so we could kind of pull that together. So, Sonia and I had talked about this and kind of prepared. There were some big questions that we had, in doing that, and trying to pull together some pricing for you. So I would like it if we could kind of go back and talk, now that we've got better information, and say, okay, here's what this would look like, and give you guys some options, and include kind of the setup, and it sounds like we want to maybe go back and capture 2019 and 2020 information out of Access if possible, what the ongoing normal piece would be, as well. So you guys can have here's the setup, here's, if we want to make some changes as we go, that kind of a thing, and how to manage that effectively, and whether it's better to, and you guys also, is it better to budget out and at the end of the year kind of be an over-under, so it's kind of consistently as far as support, that kind of a thing? Or is it better just to, just time and materials when we need assistance, that kind of piece and so forth? There's going to be a monthly subscription and those kind of pieces anyway, but if there's special additional development, hey, we want to do this, that kind of thing. So Sonia and I are super flexible about, how to set things up so they work really well for everybody. But if we could get back with you on the pricing, then that would be helpful as well. So we weren't sure if it would be just work orders or work orders and work requests, or how many people would, be involved. That's one of the questions I did have on here is, on my end, from this morning, is how many people would be involved in utilizing this consistently, from a work order standpoint, project management, you know, that kind of thing. Because I think there's probably some application here that you guys could use for several things of what you do and kind of get it all in one place. But roughly how many people would engage the system? Not including contractors. Contractors, we can get them to engage for free, by the
Do
way.
you charge on like a per license, or you said that everybody uses the app, so is it like, is it by, like I said, a license, or how many people are on the app for us?
Yeah, so there's a subscription fee, and then I think a little of what Brian's talking about is development and just maintenance, if there's support that you'd like, you know, to go along with it. But just the subscription, there's a fee per person, depending on which package you would go with.
Well,
And also the number of people, everybody, you know, the dashboards work really well. Generally, we don't have anybody engage the databases themselves. They just work with the databases, the dashboards, the views. And so we would want to make sure that everybody's got a view built out that works for them, that kind of thing too. So if it's like 2 people versus 20 people, there's just a time difference in setup, things like that.
Right. So how would you set it up? Like, would you have, you know, the drainage clerk would be the only one who really has all of the nuts and bolts of the system, and she has access to everything. And then, you know, so there are different levels of users. If you're just giving access to a page, there's no charge for that, like Brian said. But if you want, you know, so the supervisors to be able to go in and, you know, have access to everything, then there would be a fee for that, like a member fee for that. So it just depends really on how many users and what they'll be doing.
well, Brian,
And the security
And
side
the
stuff.
security.
yeah, this is Rick Peterson, Chairman here. You know, you gave us a lot of good information here. I could see this program working real well for us. I think what we need to do is, we're kind of busy at budget time this time of year. I think we need to look at this amongst ourselves, discuss a little bit, and I think we'd have our drainage staff visit with you as to what they need, and then bring that to the board for us to see if we really feel they need all that. You know what I'm saying?
Do we need
Yeah,
the
I know
short
about
version versus the catalog?
Well, there's another thing
That's what I'm trying to think.
that has been touched on, and Rick actually brought it up at the beginning of all this. You know, this, to me, right now, we're looking at an extremely fancy work order tool, which, you know, great presentation, it's very many moving parts and a lot of things you can do with it. That's no doubt. But there's other things in drainage, and this is what Rick brought up, the leveling process, keeping track of things. Is there any of that to incorporate into this? That's what I think, I agree with your thing. We need to maybe visit with, you know, Trish and Kim as to what questions they could present back to, and Sonia, I'm pretty sure you live pretty close by, so.
I'm pretty sure,
Should
yeah.
be easy to go back and forth,
Yeah.
get some of your company's questions answered, some of ours, and then maybe, as Rick said,
Absolutely.
get back in touch. Let's get past the budget.
Yeah, I mean, I can look at this and say, yeah, this is a great tool. I look at it as a great tool for even your office could use the heck out of it. So I'm interested.
I mean, it's interesting, but Dave, being fiscally sound, we do need to know a cost,
Right,
and we need to get that around.
yeah. So we can work through the details and then come up with a cost and...
Yeah, and as you're wondering, maybe we can visit back and forth too with our, you know, drainage side of this, to provide maybe a little more information or questions, and hopefully that will be able to put this back together a little more concisely. These can't say, well, yeah, this was great, let's go.
Yeah.
And then find out, wow, it's, you know, maybe,
Yeah.
Well, we can
One of the
authorize
nice
Rick,
things about it is...
the ability to give them an IOU.
Is that it is really cost-
no, an IOU for sure.
You know, so we're both really sensitive to that. You know, we've had our own businesses, that kind of thing. We've been involved in larger organizations, and we've both been involved in nonprofits quite a bit, you know, from church ministries to other things. And, you know, costs have to be manage really effectively, and that's part of our charge is the positions that we're in is to be fiscally responsible, so.
Yeah, I think, what I like to do is turn it over to the drainage clerk and Trish as the auditor, and just let them give you what they think they need for information to be put into this and who needs access, and give us just a ballpark idea.
Ballpark this and see where we can be.
'Cause if it comes in at a number, we're just gonna say, no, we're wasting our time. And I don't wanna waste Sonia's time or your time or our time, getting way deep into this if...
Yeah, I agree.
This is a Cadillac and all we need is a bicycle, 'cause
Yeah.
that's what we're on right now, is a bicycle. But,
And then if we get to a point that maybe then say, okay, then we'll get a little bit more detail, because we kind of at least know what we're dealing with. Per day, just say, what does it
And
cost?
also, what would be good, respond to this real quick, but, we can say, okay, here's the basic solution. Like, here's what the primary cost would be, and just for the work order system. And then if we also added the project management, it might be something like this, or if we did, and then as we go, like, this is great, we could really use this, I could see this being applied over here. Okay, so we'll have some time and material or something to set something like that up. So we can make this, we can break it down. Notion's hard to demonstrate initially to a new group because it's so flexible. But we can do the basics and then go, here's some what-if scenarios that might be applicable and worthwhile as we go down the road too. And then also know there's just going to be stuff that if this does work out, that we'll just figure out as we go. And we'll say, yep, we want to use it for this, or, no, we don't want to use it, it's too much setup for this other solution or something, so. We
I think that's the gist of it.
Steps down too, so here's starting point A, then we go to B, then we go to C, as needed, or as you guys desire, or not.
Perfect.
That's fair.
sounds good, Brian.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, any other questions or anything else you'd like to see?
I think so.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
thank you. Anything on your end, Brian, that you had a question about?
No, thank you for the time. I know this was longer than what we all anticipated. There was a lot of good Q&A, and so really appreciate that. I know you guys are busy too, so I'm very grateful. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sonia.
Does this look like something you could use that would work for you to track stuff and log stuff in for both of you?
access is similar, very similar, but not, like you said, not very flexible. You're pretty static in the way you can move things around and...
Yeah, it's not real in-depth in further communications. I mean, the initial work orders and everything is very, even for me, it's very easy to use, but it doesn't incorporate all the things that you're gonna need
the map.
later.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
and being able to
See
just
everybody.
keep track of it by district. Like, if you come to us and say, we sure seem to be sending a lot of contractors out to this one district, and then you say, well, what has already been repaired, and at what time frame? We don't have access to that without digging file after file.
And all this stuff is still gonna have to be entered into this. I mean, it isn't like this is gonna come
No.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, to have the big benefit of all that, there's gonna have to be a terrific amount of data loaded into this.
Which will come over time.
Yeah.
Right. It would, and this new system would be phenomenal, for someone another 20 to 50 years down the road too, that is saying, okay, now, what are all the repairs that have been done
Yeah, they could,
outside our...
Well, I have another thing, this is your
Pull it up, but it's not very detailed or user-friendly.
research, we got a lot of information here, but other counties, obviously, everybody does things a little differently. Have you ever checked with, other drainage codes in other counties, for what systems? I mean, we've talked to Ben, he's showed us, the work order system they use, which seems to work pretty well. And so that there is other options, we need something better, but Rick mentioned too, I don't know, no offense, Sonia, but that we may be getting into a Cadillac program, and we really just need an upgrade from our Prius we don't need the Cadillac Escalade, we just...
Well, yeah, I think there's so many different levels.
And I know there is, but, and I'm not saying it couldn't get there, but...
Yeah.
And also, in the conversation, you need to keep this quite user-friendly and simple, I mean, for everyone's sake.
And that's where that dashboard is.
Mhm.
On my access one, you have to physically go into each table or form or something.
The
So,
dashboard,
I just don't-
The dashboard.
I wanna say, well, this thought process of new programs and such, explore as many options as possible. This is a good time to do that. I mean, there's other things out there. You know, we talk strictly work order. I like what Rick brought up. There's probably other things involved in drainage that sometimes become a real, kind of a headache on the levying process and dollars spent and things like that. So, maybe, I mean, this could probably work, but we just kinda gotta, this is a good time to kinda sort through all those things of, you know, what do we really need to put in, whether it's this program or another, that would make it, we wanna make life simpler and keeping track simpler. Isn't that the bottom line?
Yeah. So, like I say, ask them what kind of information what kind of thing they need to set up and get a cost to us to
Yeah.
make it functional for baby steps.
I mean, it's really,
We don't wanna jump
honestly,
into the deep
it's
end.
a
No.
very affordable system, I will just say that. It's not anything that's, you know, in the hundreds of thousands.
Well, some people's definition of very affordable is different than
And
others.
it's a subscription basis, so really, honestly, it's, you pay the subscription for Notion, and then it's basically just our development time and, you
Right.
know, whatever we come up with that's on top of that. So it's, yeah, I would say it's...
At this time of year, we're trying to make two ends come together,
Yeah.
we're still
He's not too far.
not sure which,
Right.
at what level we're gonna make those two.
Well, you gotta
ends
start
come together.
someplace. I guess this was a good start to
Right.
our, you know, wanting to make things run better.
And it is a problem with other drainage, clerks too. I mean, other counties may not have as much drainage and projects going on, but it is definitely an issue with tracking things.
But somewhere, someone has done something
Solutions,
that's been,
or an Excel spreadsheet.
that's done something that's better, that they like, and, you know, if they can steer you to that direction, or, and not saying it'll work here, but there's something out there.
All
There's
right.
options.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think about all we have left is claims and committee reports.
Rick, I just got a
discussion.
message from your wife.
Oh, yeah. My
You have
phone's
no
at home.
heat.
What's that?
You guys lost the heat at your house.
Oh, nice.
And she just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
Your phone's sitting on the counter.
I know, I knew that when I got to town, I thought, reach for it, I thought, oh, darn.
She said, "If I see this, would you please tell my husband we have no heat?"
It's freezing.
Okay.
Okay.
So you guys are going back to your regular meeting then and discussing
She is.
claims?
I'm guessing that we gotta be getting close on
We don't
our
have
2
any
hours, don't
drainage
we?
today, so you-
Yeah, there's no drainage other than a couple
Right.
of measures.
Okay.
So,
You're good to go. Alrighty, thank you.
I lost you, hang on.
Let you know, that's about the time you leave your phone, so.
Well, you're on
Are we,
there.
You get correction.
You're looking for the claims, Rick?
So they can,
Yep.
if it's okay, if they go back and forth.
Trish has my...
We have, I looked at them and my numbers were
Back
for
and forth a little bit.
the 276,
You know, kind of our information gathering. That'd be awesome.
276, 346, 17 for general. In drainage, I had 92, 382.57.
That's what I had. I'll second it.
I guess toss this in there, just some of the numbers are, some of the things that, we had a couple of loan payments in there that threw this thing out of normal, I guess. They weren't the vet bills that we have been questioning. And I guess there was some, I'm guessing, can't even remember, one was the Corn Belt and one was something else. I'm assuming it was
There was two core bells.
two, alright.
One was 40 and the other one was 7 or 9 or something like that.
Okay.
So, make motion and Rick, or Dave seconded.
Dave seconded, we, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, claims are approved. Committee reports.
You got discussion on next week.
Oh, I missed that one, yeah, jumped over that. Next week's February 15th,
Have
President's Day.
we got anything important coming up?
Oh, I don't know. Being budget time, I wouldn't doubt it, but I'm not sure.
Is it fair if nothing crops up on us to take a week off or have a meeting following Monday if needed?
We can do that.
Because it's pretty, well, strictly budget related, and I feel like
Yeah,
we've
should be
made
all
pretty,
budget, and if we need to...
pretty good progress on budget related matters here recently.
Come in if we, is anybody gonna be gone, basically? I think...
Not that I know of right now.
We should have
Sure, I'm
enough
aware.
around in case we do need to be called in for something important, I think.
I agree.
Being around.
Okay.
Let me know when I can come anytime or call,
Yeah.
anytime or call.
If we did need a meeting later in the week.
So are you making a motion into
I'd make the motion to not have a meeting unless needed next week, being President's Day holiday.
I'll second. Skip the meeting.
The first and the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, now we'll jump down to committee reports.
For me, on Monday night, we had the conference board meeting, with the assessors. Wednesday, I had a conference call for UDMO. Wednesday afternoon, I had a secondary roads, the state meeting that we usually have when we're down in Des Moines. They had a conference / Zoom. It's in their bylaws that they have to, have some type of meeting, so we ended up putting that together. And then Friday afternoon, I was up here for our budget workshop.
That was Thursday.
Nope,
Friday.
Friday. It was Thursday.
Oh, that
We
moved,
got-
you're right,
we
I
have
never
ordered-
moved that. Oh, I moved on my other calendar, you're right.
I had it wrote in mine on Friday, or Thursday also, but we ended up moving it.
Is the weather.
Weather, yeah. Okay, Sandy?
And the only thing I had was, the budget workshop on Friday.
That was it. I had, on the first Monday, the assessors meeting. And, then on Friday, the budget workshop. That's all I had.
Okay, Monday the first, that morning, we had an LEC meeting. Then that evening, we had the Assessors Compensation Board meeting. On Wednesday the third, later afternoon, had an executive board for the EMA meeting. EOC, just the executive board met. And then, of course, Friday afternoon, we had the budget workshop here.
This isn't Farm Bureau night, is it?
Hmm?
This isn't
Yes.
Farm Bureau night, is it?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
We can discuss that.
All right, I had, the LEC meeting on Monday morning, conference board meeting Monday night, 6, budget at 1 o'clock on Friday. Okay. Any other business we need to talk about?
The farm, yeah, Bruce just mentioned, the Farm Bureau, they had their gathering,
I got 6.
I got 6, well, I thought,
they always had a supper, there's no supper, they always like the county officials, you know, I don't know if everyone needs to go, you probably should, because you're the only engineer, but...
Yeah, they got questions for you always, and...
I don't know, I mean,
Usually with dinner, I think it only lasts an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it should be fairly short.
Yeah, but I mean, is it, I don't know who's going, who isn't, who wants to go.
I'll probably end up going, as far as I know, unless I don't have any heat at home. and-
Well, you may still be trying to.
Oh, I got a lot of heat at home, but it's not for my furnace.
That's the problem.
Uh-huh.
I guess whoever, we'll be pretty well represented, you know Sandy won't be there.
I have to go and I don't know what I'm presenting.
Well, they're gonna ask you basically about budget.
Yep.
I'll be there to help you.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I mean, not everyone makes it
I
as
don't
a big
think so,
deal.
no.
And, you know, they're doing this still, we're still wearing masks, social distancing. I know I called in and said, well, we're gonna have everything spread out.
Are they having it in the same room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you know, just try to, and I thought, well, obviously, maybe the less people, the easier it's gonna be to maintain their protocol, so.
Yeah.
I just wish we at least got a carry out of the 7-layer salad.
Me too. I regret there is.
That's like my favorite salad of the year.
It is, mine too.
Mine too.
My information to the board is, I've had some contact with Renee, so we were planning to have a meeting like next week, the week of the 15th sometime. She hasn't given me a date yet, so I'd like to just do it after our meeting on Monday, which we're not having, so sometime through the week. I don't know.
She probably won't be working either on
No, she won't be.
President.
Because we had scheduled the 16th, the 17th, or the 19th as tentative dates, and she hasn't gotten back to me yet. I'm gonna contact her today. Thanks.
Trish, got anything for us?
No, I do not.
Oh, Rick, are you saying that she might be getting a hold of you for something next week?
Yeah, she wanted to she was hoping to have a meeting with the full board with what the union's
Right.
proposal was this week sometime. And like I commented to you earlier, not real happy with what she told me.
I know.
So,
If you hear something, and if it's next week, and
I'll try to get it.
and she probably isn't gonna
Probably
personally be...
it'll be like a phone conference.
Do a phone conference and
Yeah.
see where everything is?
Yeah.
You know, you could say Zoom, but maybe if it's only one person and one topic, maybe the phone thing would work.
Yeah,
You just have to let us know, where we wouldn't have to physically come in.
right, because I don't think she's gonna come out,
I don't think so either.
no.
Just let us know.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
we are adjourned at 10:51.